Well, I wouldn't be sitting here if I'd never encountered psychedelics.
Mm,
I'd probably still be doing geology out in the mountains, which wouldn't be a bad thing. It was a great career. My first experience was life transforming.
mm,
It really set the tone for everything I'm doing and in some ways that to me are still very mysterious. There are synchronicities and, like, for instance, let me give an example. My first journey happened to be with LSD that was made in the late 60s and early 70s, by a man by the name of Nick Sand, actually Nick Sand and Tim Scully. And that LSD was called Orange Sun. It was these little orange barrels. They were anywhere from 200 to 300 micrograms, so they were, good doses, true psychedelic doses. And I guess I was fortunate enough to, despite all my fears at the time that this would make me jump out of a window or think I could fly, which of course it never did. I was fortunate enough to have that experience, and in the aftermath, my amazement that it was even possible that this experience could be had, and that somebody had made this, um, inspired me very briefly to want to meet the person that had done this, because it was just such an amazing thing. And this was in Holland. I grew up in Holland, and then through a completely unrelated set of events and circumstances, 20 years later, almost exactly 20 years later, I ended up meeting this man and actually working with him. So, you kind of have to wonder, if you plant a seed of just a simple thought, which then you forget, but maybe is lodged somewhere in either in the brain or somewhere in the universe. It's hard to say that something like that will come to pass. Well, let me first address the fear part. I think fear is healthy.
mm,
These are states of mind that are extraordinary, and I think fear, is actually a healthy attitude to have. Being cavalier about this and diving in can have consequences that can be disastrous. And so fear can also make you, approach this with care. We know how to deal with this. We know about set and setting and dosage and purity, so we can mitigate many things. But you have to recognize that the psyche and reality has a dark side.
mm.
The light and the dark are two sides of one coin, and so expecting that it'll all be light and that you're not going to encounter, both on a personal level and on a transpersonal level, you have to be prepared. Oh my goodness. Well, there's one where, well, let's say, there are overlaps between psychedelic experience and deep meditative states that you can reach through meditation. I had one experience where I had this was on psilocybin mushrooms in Mexico. I was visiting the ruins at Palenque, and I was wandering around in the forest behind the ruins, found a beautiful stream and waterfall, and sat down. And what started happening was this insight that it's maybe the Zen concept of not doing. And so I got into this space, this mind state, where I realized that the less I did, which is itself not a doing, this is a paradox, but the less I did, and the more the more I went into that space of not doing, which included not thinking either, not following the thoughts, but just going into this deep quiet, I ended up in this incredible clarity and this incredible feeling of peace and clarity. And it just went deeper and deeper, as if, you end up in a state of real contentment that, about nothing in particular. There was nothing really to hang that on. And it gets simpler, but deeper and more profound. And it wasn't necessarily a psychedelic experience. There wasn't all these bells and whistles and all this stuff going on. It was just this state of really deep presence in the moment. And I'd never experienced that, so profoundly and with such simplicity. And that really stands out, because you can have, the psychedelic experience can take you into all these places where there is so much going on, and it can be, both overwhelmingly terrifying and overwhelmingly beautiful. But in a sense, it's almost like those are distractions. This ability, that we obviously have inherent in us as living beings. It's not the drug that puts that in you. It just allows you to experience what the potential you already have. But just that simple ability to be present, and how profound that is. And that is something that is not easy to put into words, because the experience itself has no words. So people might go scratch their head, what's he talking about and whatnot, but that really was actually one of the most profound experiences I've ever had. Well, I would say that the attitude of checking this out, being evidence-based is the right way to go. That, if someone's skeptical, then as long as they're open to information and objective data and rational thought, then there's room to explore possibilities. So as long as there's skepticism isn't a closed-mindedness, I think skepticism is good. But how do you open that up? And it's a question of education. It's going to be a question of partly, exposing the misconceptions and the lies, because there have been lies around this. A lot of this was politically based.
Yes.
And this has to be set aside. So I think one of the first things that I try and do is to encourage the possibility to ask the question: is it possible that these substances might actually have medical benefit? Because they're classified as having no medical benefit, and we now we know that that's not the case. I mean, that is now quite well documented and demonstrated. So start with what we already know, and bring that into the picture, and then expand on that, and check it out with an open mind. Not with this preconception that it might actually be beneficial, but also not with the preconception that it has no benefit.